Okay, here we are for the battle up there in Sea Zone 3, the North Sea. We're being a little bit harsh on the German player, expecting this attack to go through, but why not? Yeah, fortune favours the brave and all that sort of thing. They've got their one destroyer at 2s and their 2 submarines at 2s, seeing what they can do versus a heavier hitting British Navy. This is Axis and Allies on the Tour List channel. We're on video number 4, turn number 8 of our anniversary 42 playthrough using our Inferior 1 house rule. And I suspect it's likely to be the last time for this series anyway that I may mention that we make these videos in aid of a charity called Cure Parkinson's. You can guess what they're trying to do. There's a link to them below this video, one in the About section on the channel page. If you happen to have a spare $1, euro, yen, yak or British pound, you can send to them. I'm sure they'd appreciate it. So why is it likely to be the last time we say this? Because I think, well, it's very close to being all over Red Rover. The Axis forces have got themselves 12 of the 13 victory cities that we are playing to for our projected win. And they're likely, I think, to grab the 13th city at the start of the Japanese turn, which starts off this round. They're going to go for Sydney, the not capital of Australia. To do that, they're going to take these transport ships, or one of the transport ships here, pick up the artillery piece, come through Solomon Islands, pick up the guy here, and drop these into the Australian mainland. Similar things going to happen from Manila, coming through Sea Zone 48 and dropping the guys off in Australia there. They're taking their carriers, going to move 1-2 spaces to collect these planes that can fly 1, 2, 3, 4 and land back on there. So they're going to have 4 fighter planes, infantry artillery going into there, plus some bombardment from a couple of battleships, and the cruiser can also go through. They'll be leaving a majority of their fleet, however, over here in the Hawaiian Islands region, just in case America can engineer a way of coming through and retaking that victory city. The other thing which Japan are going to have to do is just support its Indian base here. There's a couple of guys here from the Brits which may come through. They're not going to spoil the party there, that is for sure. But we'll buy a couple of infantry to go in there as well. And the rest of the Japanese movements, the non-coms, which I'm already thinking about in advance now, is moving the empty transport ship that can't actually reach Australia, either nearer to Australia or back towards the home islands or to China, to start bringing units back across and making sure the battle isn't done on turn number 8, it'll be done on turn number 9. That's about all that's going to happen on this side of the map for Japan. The headache compounding this for the Allied forces is what's happening over in the middle of Europe. We're focusing a little bit onto there, as you may see. With the Italians having a Caucasus with 1 tank, it easily can be taken back. But to take it back, they can be diverting forces away, this is the Soviets, away from Russia itself, and then Germany can try to come through and bash that, etc. The only real hope of preventing a victory, we think, apart from the Australian attack not working, would be if the Brits up there later on in the turn can retake Karelia on behalf of the Soviet forces. And they've got a good shot at doing that, but they're going to act after the Germany act, so that again is going to be a twist in the tail. Let's get this first battle onto the board, which will be everything moving into Australia. Good day, mate. And I shall see you over there. Okay, here we are on the battle board, ready for this fight into Australia. There's a couple of preludes takes place first, however. There's the anti-aircraft gun that can fire up at 3 of these Japanese fighters coming in. Plus there's a bombardment from 2 of the battleships that have come from Hawaiian Islands and 1 of the cruisers that's come from the Caroline Islands. So we've got 2 at 4 and 1 at 3. And we've just scored 3 hits straight away. Man alive, 2 of them are the inferior ones, but we can sort that out in a minute. That's a great first roll. That means that 2 of these guys get moved behind the strip. Into damaged not destroyed areas, and 1 of these guys gets damaged straight up. That's a really good start for Japan. Now, let's have a look at the anti-aircraft gun. It's 3 fighters they can fire at. It's the regular version rules when you're playing with anti-aircraft guns with my inferior ones. They all hit at once. or miss at once. We'll see what happens with this dice roll. And they've hit one of the fighters. So one of these Japanese fighters goes down straight away. And we can get on with the land invasion proper. Let me just do a little tidy up. Move stuff out of the way. And now we have the 3 fighters that are now going to roll in there at 3 or less. Plus there's 1, 2, 3, 4 of the ground troops running in. Done a hefty job so far, but I think it's a hard ask for Japan getting in here. But a roll like that's going to help out an awful lot. Man alive, that is, 1, 2 hits straight away from the fighters, a 3rd inferior hit from the fighters, and 2 more. Wow. So there's going to be 5 hits out of there. They've only got 5 units left there. They're 3 fighters and 2 guys. They've all been destroyed in that first part of the attack. I think Japan have done this inside the first roll. Right, clear my head. Let's not apply any of these hits as targeted hits, so we can get the full 5 done. So the UK or the Americans will take 2 fighters as the damage not destroyed. They can go back to their base card and be repaired next time. If you don't know the Inferior 1 house rule, check out the first video, it will help you out there. Plus 3 more casualties, 1, 2, 3. There are no combat units left in Australia. It's now what they can do back to smash the invading forces. This is a really important dice roll for the Allied here. They have got their 3 fighters all rolling in at 4s because they're all in defence. And they've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 guys all going in at 2s. This whole game, in fact, the last video was, as you may have seen, had crazy dice rolls, absolutely crazy dice rolls. Are we going to get one again here? We need to get 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 hits out of this. Otherwise, Japan are going to grab Australia. In fact, it's 7 hits because there's 2 fighters there on that one ship. And it's not going to be enough. It's clearly not going to be enough because there are 1, 2 hits there from the 4s. That's on the 4, and that's 1 hits on the 2. There are just 4 guys that have been taken out. And Japan can see clearly what they need to do here because these have all missed. There's going to be 1, 2, 3 casualties there. Plus they take a fighter as a 4th casualty there, which means that guy there can invade Australia. Wow. That is a turnip for the cooks. We've had extraordinary dice rolls, as I mentioned, in this game thus far. The last video was just full of them, but that means that one guy here can go proudly into Australia. That is the 13th victory city that Japan will take. We just nick a round, we'll stick it on there to show you. 13 victory cities. That is the projected win for the Axis forces. Next time I speak to you, I think once the board is tidied up, will be what happens with the Soviet Union. I'll see you over there. Okay, we are on with Russia now. Things looking perilous for the Allied forces, but not terribly so. We got the 13th victory city as the Axis forces, but one of them is the Caucasus, and there's only 1 Italian tank in there. Russia can easily take this back, but they have to balance their numbers slightly because whilst if we leave Caucasus wide open as an Axis force, the German tanks can blitz through into Moscow here. So it's a must-do to take that one back again. We were thinking about using the Brits to do that, but they've got their own worries with the Indian forces just down below them. So their job really is to maintain the south as much as they can do. We're also thinking that if we just use 1 tank and 1 artillery piece to do the job, then we are it should be successful. But we are then providing a stopper in place, to stop anything blitzing through. Same as these tanks up here that are in Belarusia. We're not going to attack with those. We thought about using those to attack up into Karelia, but we figure again, this is the main route through for Germany. This is where most of their supplies are coming through. We've got to put some sort of stopper in the bottle there just to hold things off by a fraction until the relief comes from the rest of the Allied forces. But we are attacking with these 4 guys in Archangel. Not a good odds against whatever's there in Karelia, but if we can reduce down the weight that's in Karelia, it's going to make the Brits' job easier on their turn, which will come up later on. And obviously, if it goes wrong, it will go wrong. We are going to leave Archangel wide open. But what else can we do? We've got to help out the Allied because the Allied are helping out us. So 2 battles to get onto the board. The first one here will be in Eastern Ukraine versus Caucasus. Then we'll do the Archangel Karelia second. I'll see you in a bit. Okay, the first battle into the Caucasus, we got one Soviet tank rolling in at 3 and one of their artillery rolling at 2. Should better make this. And we do. We actually smash this thing. We can even target that tank with our inferior ones. Lovely. And now that one Italian tank is going to roll back at a 3 in defence and misses entirely. So we're happy enough with that. Next up, we'll look at the one into Karelia. Obviously, the attack here into Karelia is highly ambitious for the Soviet player. They've got 4 dice at... We're going to use my lucky dice. As I mentioned before, these are lucky dice. They keep on rolling ones, but they are just regular dice, I do promise you that. So 4 at 1 for the Soviets, trying to release some of that pressure in Karelia. And it is lucky, they've scored a 1. I keep telling you, these are lucky dice. So 1 guy there goes into damage not destroyed. Then the German reply comes in. Yeah, it's not going to be very pretty for the Soviet player here. 2 tanks at 3. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 at 2s. So we're looking at 3s and 2s. What can we do? We can take out 3 of those Soviet players there. Nice, okay. So they have actually survived. That's surprised me a little bit. And what we're going to do, we're going to take those as 3 casualties on the Soviets. 1 will be a inferior hit, damage not destroyed. But we're not going to attack again. And we're going to say, well, we did try our best. It's not been very successful, but it's 1 out of that German forces in there. And we can get 1 guy back into Archangel as our backstop. As I mentioned before, keep putting units into place back into Archangel to protect this border from blitz moves, etc. So I shall see you next up when we get on to the German reply. Eek. Okay, this is Germany on turn number 8. They are making 2 attacks. 1 is in a surprising place, 1 you won't be surprised about. They're going to go into the Caucasus and retake that. There are 7 tanks going in there versus these guys down here. They're not making any attacks from Karelia. They're going to try to bulk up in there. They can fly their fighter from Poland up into there to defend Karelia. And they're going to be building a couple of planes in there as well from their fairly substantial purchase this time. Some money that they've saved from the last round and some guys from the boneyard they've managed to bring back into it after last turn's attacks. But they're going to be taking, very bravely, this 1 destroyer and these 2 submarines through Sea Zone 6 into Sea Zone 3 and having a pop at these 3 destroyers and this 1 cruiser. They are going in light, they're going in against the odds, but they figure this is the round when Germany could win this game. That will be our 13th victory city down here in the Caucasus. If they can keep hold of Karelia and not lose that, that would mean Germany will win the game because Brits, well, there's nobody after the Brits that can retake any of these victory cities. So it will just be the Brits having a bigger smash as they can. Obviously, guys in Finland here could easily get into there. The guys in Norway have to come around via transport ships. If we can get our fleet into there and take out these ships here and the transport, it'll be a little bit easier a job for the Germans to hang on there, but we're not sure they are actually hanging on just yet. We'll see what's going to happen with these dice rolls. Let's get the first battle up on the board, which will be the one down in the Caucasus, a very simple affair. Okay, simple affair down here in the Caucasus. We've got 7 tanks for Germany. Haven't got enough black dice. We've got 1 red one in there too. All rolling in at 3s. And getting enough damage there. There's 1, 2, 3 hits. One of those is a damage not destroyed. They can take that on the cheapest unit. That can be repaired by the Soviets. And in reply, they're 1 tank and they're 1 artillery piece. 3s and 2s. Black is the highest register. And both missing. So as the Caucasus has fallen fairly easily. Next up, we'll be looking up into the North Sea up here and having this bit of German Navy versus this bit of British Navy. See you in a bit. Okay, here we are for the battle up there in Sea Zone 3, the North Sea. we're being a little bit harsh on the German player, expecting this attack to go through, but why not? Fortune favours the brave and all that sort of thing. They've got their 1 destroyer at 2s and their 2 submarines at 2s, seeing what they can do versus a heavier hitting British Navy. They can score 2 hits straight off. Nice. So 2 destroyers will immediately go into the casualty strip. That was a bit of unexpectedness. So in reply, their 1 cruiser for the Brits folds in at 3, and they got the 3 destroyers, 2 of them going glug 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 in a very short while, boarding in at 2s. This can't work, can it? It's too mad to work, this plan. And they've scored just the 1 hit. Just that one there. That was one of the 3s. They're the rest of it 2s. It's going to be an inferior hit as well, taking on the cheapest unit, so Germany can repair that submarine later on, and these 2 Brits are out of the game. That's slightly redressed the balance here. Germany have got a shot here. I wasn't actually expecting it to go through. They have their 1 destroyer and their 1 submarine at 2 versus the rest of the British fleet. They can't succeed here, surely. They've scored 1 more hit. It's an inferior hit. That would be on the destroyer. And they have their cruiser, the British cruiser, and the British destroyer at 3s and 2s. Getting a bit tight this now. And scoring 1 hit again from that sunken destroyer. That comes off the board. This one comes off the board. It's a straight up knockdown fight, with the Germans coming in from behind. But they've been behind all the way in this battle. I'm so surprised they got even this close. They can't do it, can they? Surely they can't do it. 1 at 2 for the Germans. They scored a hit. Oh my giddy aunt. It's a damage not destroyed, but it's a hit nonetheless. This guy has to succeed. Otherwise, this transport fleet is also going to be sunk. So, 1 roll for the Brits in reply. We use the same dice because it's not been fixed. Like the rest of my dice seem to have been fixed this whole game. They've got 1 guy at 3. What can they do? They can miss. Oh my giddy aunt. That was a Hail Mary play by the Japanese. By the Germans. I am so shocked. I can't even get me worms out properly. That means all that Germany have to do now is to continue rolling this battle. Yes, these are transport ships. They're all going to go out on 3 hits. 1, 2, 3, whatever it's going to be. The transport has been lost. The transport has been lost because they can't defend themselves. That is superb for Germany, terrible for the Allied have been rolling cold for this whole game. I don't know how that's going to happen. I'm going to have to look at that tape, review it, rewind it, but yeah, it's happened again. So that 1 very plucky German destroyer stays there in Sea Zone 3. All these transport ships are gone. The Brits can't. It's only 5 units anyway, but they could have helped out in this attack into Karelia. There's been so many moments in this game. What I've said to you, it's been pivotal, and this is a big one here, and so on. And they've all fallen the way of the Axis forces. So at the end of that, all my excitedness, wafflingness, etc. comes into play here. But we're going to do the German reinforcements and the non-com movements. We've been rolling these tanks forward 2 spaces. They can't get involved in the action. We've got some guys here in Poland can't get involved in the action. The only things we can get up into here is this 1 fighter from eastern Poland. It can fly into here in defence. We're building a couple of planes from our massive purchase phase that we had just at the start of this turn, and putting 2 more fighters into here, and hoping that's enough against this British incursion coming in. Otherwise, I think Germany grabbed this game by the projected score of 13 victory cities. Let me just tidy everything up, gather my thoughts again, and get back to you in a wee while. Okay, here's how things now look up here in Karelia. Plenty of German defensive units in there. And well, in terms of hit numbers, I think as far as the Brits coming forward, they've got about 21, 22 hit numbers. The Germans are defending with about 25, 28, something along those lines. But you've also got the anti-aircraft gun that the Germans are using as well. That could throw a spanner in the works. Obviously, the Brits, if they had their fleets alive, which from that last wonderful attack it's been lost, those 6 units would have tipped that balance, I think, in favour of the Brits. But again, it's not going to last very much longer because the Brits' supply line is now been lost. Their Their transport had been out of position anyway, and all these German units are coming through their northern states to retake Karelia, even if the Brits did manage to do that. So I think it's actually going to be all over Red Rover anyway. And I can't see the Soviets coming out and abandoning their Moscow Central, coming down to retake the Caucasus. They've got quite a few tanks in there because of this extra money they've got sloshing around with the bonus income rules that we're playing with the out-of-the-box edition. Let's get this first battle onto the board. It's Britain versus the Germans in Karelia. Okay, let's start rolling this one out. We've got this one anti-aircraft gun for Germany against the one British Spitfire coming over and shooting itself in the foot. No problem at all. We've got the one fighter again for the Brits. That's going to roll in at 3, and the one tank going to roll in at 3. And score just the one hit, so we can lose one of these infantry units. Straight away, he goes into the casualty strip. Then we have 8 dice now for the infantry artillery. Doesn't matter which colours they are, they're all going to be rolling in at 2s. Pretty important roll, this. And it's not a very successful roll either. Just the one hit at a 2. It's been the way of this game. It really has been the way of this game. One guy from the German infantry goes back into the casualty strip. Now they're going to get their reply with their 3 fighters. Find some dice. 3 fighters all rolling in at 4s and 2 tanks rolling in at 3. And scoring 3 hits. They're the 4s. That's one of the 3s. That's 3 off the Brits straight up. Plus they got their infantry artillery combinations. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. We can use 5 red dice for that. All going in at 2s. And scoring 2 more hits. One of those is an inferior hit. That doesn't really matter at this stage. I think they're just going to boot 5 of these British units out of the way. So 5 infantry, 1 artillery gone straight away from the first round of this battle. One of those can get repaired. I'm not sure we're actually going to get a subsequent battle out of this, but you never know your luck. Let's now look at the casualties for Germany. They come off of there. Let's now look at the second round of the attack. The Brits have to follow through. They can't let Karelia stand up. They've got their one infantry. They've got their 1 fighter and their 1 tank rolling in at 3s, and they've got 3 artillery left rolling in at 2s. So that's 3s and 2s. Hard ask now. And scoring just 1 hit again, and again it's an inferior hit as well. It's rubbing salt into the wounds greatly for the Allied entirely for this game. So 3 fighters and 2 tanks, 4s and 3s for Germany, and scoring just 1 hit. So a failure for the Axis forces straight away. And we're going to have 3 guys there at 2s for the infantry artillery combinations that are left there for Germany. And scoring 1 more hit as well. That's going to come off of that guy there. I'll remove the casualties. Then look at the third round of the battle. We have 2 at 3 for the Brits, plus 2 at 2. Doesn't get any easier, does it? And again, just a single hit from one of the fighters or tanks. One of those guys goes into the casualty strip. Germany's reply now. 1, 2, 3, plus 2 at 3s. So they're 4s and 3s. And they've scored 3 hits there. They're the 4s. That's the 3. So that's 3 more damage. Plus we have infantry artillery combinations. Or is it 2 artillery? Doesn't matter. They're all at 2s anyway. I'll roll different coloured dice so we can see clearly what we're getting there. And scoring 1 more hit out of that. That is 4 units that have been destroyed. Even though 1 is an inferior hit, it's still these 4 units from Britain. 1, 2, 3, 4. Britain cannot invade. These units stay alive in Karelia. And, well, that is the game done. That is it entirely. Let me just move a couple of things out of the way. That's better. That's the Germans hanging on there to Karelia with a couple of tanks in there, fighters and some artillery. The Brits have failed in their objective of keeping this game going for one more turn. I think the 13 victory cities that have been secured by the Axis forces, there's been a combination of good dice rolls, no question about that, and some very brave attacks, like the attack from the Navy up into sea. In fact, the flag's still there, into Sea Zone 3. That was a wonderful attack that the Germans did up there, and a really successful attack going in against the odds. Very similarly, I think when Japan invaded the Philippines over there, they were asking an awful lot of their crew, but they stood up mightily. And Australia, similar sort of situation there. Whilst there was some American fighter planes in there was some British fighters in there, and there was some infantry artillery in there. It got absolutely wiped out by the Japanese being big and brave. Sometimes you can make the wrong decisions and get the right results. Other times in this, we can make some brave decisions and get some right results. And I think I have mentioned before how well I thought I played Japan this time around. Financially, they got their budget exactly right as to how much they put into China and how much they put into the Pacific. And obviously the Brits being far too weak and tardy with their India campaign. That was a ridiculous move, trying to get their factory in Egypt to supply India. I won't be doing that again anytime soon. And obviously, well, Germany's wonderful results up there in all their European battles seem to work out nicely most of the time. From here on in, from the rest of this game turn, America can't do anything. Its fleet is lost there in the Atlantic. Its fleet is waiting in the Pacific to try to come over and do something for subsequent turns. But I hope you've understood the Inferior 1 house. Well, so you can download it from BGG in the Europe 40 section there and have fun playing with it yourself, because it's since I devised the idea and tweaked the idea for this house, I have not stopped using it. I find it extremely challenging and fun to add an extra layer of difficulty into the purchases and repairs and the resolution of combat, whether you're taking stuff as damaged not destroyed or forcing the other player to think about their purchases and their repairs, etc. But anyway, that's me just waffling. Thank you very much for watching. I hope you've enjoyed it. Until next time, be cool.